Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching episode 6 of The Last of Us. So after the events of the last episode, which led to Henry and Sam leaving the show, Joel and Ellie happen to find their way to a new settlement that happens to reunite Joel with Tommy, and we get introduced to his new wife, Maria. We also find out that this settlement is basically the first place in the series where people are actually getting along as opposed to fighting each other. A community of people that are allowed to watch movies and celebrate Christmas and all that stuff. But is it a place where Joel and Ellie would go separate ways? That's pretty much the story when it comes to this episode. When it comes to some of the scenes and throughout, some of them are pretty much line for line like the games, like the one where Joel and Ellie talk about whether it's a good idea for them to go separate ways and whether it's safer for Ellie at this new settlement. Especially considering this is the first place where it feels like The Last of Us really embraces the humanity that brings people together. Granted, there's been little bits of it here and there, but I liked this part of both the game and the show because it really happens to show a more optimistic view of the apocalypse, which is what the story desperately needs in order to make the darker moments land more. And I think it really helps that Gabriel Luna does a really good job as Tommy, and his scenes with Joel are probably among some of the most heartfelt of the whole series. Especially when Joel thinks of himself as too weak to help out Ellie, and when he thinks that he's better off just leaving her with Tommy and Maria. It's that bit of self-doubt that really humanizes Joel and lets you know that as tough as he is and as rough as he appears, he has his limits. But then again, so does Ellie. Ellie also opens up a little bit and realizes that she'd be scared without Joel. Even though the people of the settlement are really kind and they have the best of intentions, she really just wants to be with Joel because even though she knows she's not his daughter, they still have a very close bond after all this time. They've been together for months after all. And when you're traveling through the United States with someone for that long, of course you get attached to them, especially when you're as young as Ellie is. On top of that, there's a bit of a fight with a few raiders, but that's at the very end of the episode, and after our characters come across a Firefly lab that's filled with monkeys, though the monkeys were probably test subjects for the vaccine or something. Animal testing is certainly not gone when it comes to the apocalypse, and I'm guessing they didn't have much of a choice considering most of the people around them were some that are friendly and others were not so much like the raiders there. So yeah, I generally think this episode is one of the softer episodes of the series. It has a bit of violence here and there, but it's mostly really downplayed. And most of it really just focuses on the characters and when it comes to how they feel as we head towards the third act. And as far as that goes, I think this episode does a really good job capturing that. And Pedro Pascal, Gabriel Luna, Bella Ramsey, most of the cast delivers their performances exceptionally well. Plus, I do think that you'd be able to catch a few Easter eggs to the game and even a few references to other pieces of media if you're really paying attention, such as the movie that Ellie is watching, or some little details that are inside Tommy's home. It's generally another example of how the fact that this show was made by people who clearly loved The Last of Us and clearly wanted to make parts of it better while sticking to what made the game work in the first place. So I'm pretty confident heading into these last 3 episodes, but we'll see how they handle Riley's section of the game next time. See you then.